Hey everybody, so today I'm going to share a story with a purpose, and the story is about my own experience. It was probably about 15, could be even longer than that now, 20 years. Yeah, that'd be about right. That I started to get into bodybuilding, and I was really the classic skinny white guy, or if you want to call it a hard gainer. Um, but I had trouble putting on a lot of muscle. And then, of course, as you go through the life cycle of gym, you come across a number of pretty common bits of advice that come your way. And one of those bits of advice was, eat a lot. And that was something I wasn't doing up to that point. So then from that point, I thought I'd adopt literally force feeding myself. So I started eating a lot of food. The only time I wouldn't eat is when I was full. So even when I wasn't hungry, I'd eat. And I did get my weight, which was sitting around about 74 kilos, up to 80. And that was hard to get up over the 80 kilos. In fact, what I used to do in a gym was sometimes hold on to just 2 kilo or 3 kilo dumbbells as I got on the scales. So then I could help more than visualize, but really envisage what it would look like to have those scales way heavier. So people must have thought, what's this guy doing? And I don't know if it worked or not, but it did sort of help link in with me, link these two things together. Me standing on the scales and the scales weighing or giving me a reading that was considerably higher than what I was at that point in time because I was holding on to those dumbbells. Anyway, this isn't the point of the story. I'm getting there. Here we go. And so, yeah, I ate a lot. I worked out like a demon. I tried all different types of workouts, all different combinations, the splits, combinations with rest days, you name it. I tried it for a long period of time. I did get my weight up to 93 kilos, but here's the thing. I didn't get what I was looking for. I simply got fat. My body could not handle that weight. It wasn't turning it into muscle. It just basically barreled me. So I got barrel chested. My chest got big, my back got big, but my arms in proportion didn't get as big as my chest and my back, and I carried a lot of weight around my stomach. So I became very barreled. Now, why did I get into bodybuilding? Well, see, this is the thing. With the results I wasn't getting over a long period of time, trying different things and different supplements and different nutritional programs and different workouts. And it was super frustrating. It was super frustrating not seeing the results. I had to really boil it down to the why. And the why for me was, you don't usually put on muscle just for the want of putting on muscle. That's really a facade to why you want to put on that muscle. The why is something that underpins it. And the why often is not, I just want more muscle on my bones. So for example, if you want to get more muscular, and if we were to add the word because to it, that's where your why is. It sits after the because. So if you said to someone, and we've all got our different reasons, especially getting into the gym and getting more muscular. I want to get more muscular because I want to be more attractive to the opposite sex. I want to feel more powerful. I want to accomplish something that gives me both credibility, but also, I was going to use the Māori word here in New Zealand, mana, but you might not know what that means. So it doesn't translate beautifully into English because mana incorporates so many things, but it's to do with reputation and power and standing, good standing in a community, just having something special about the person that you can respect, mana. So those were all the reasons why, or there can be the reasons why we go to the gym. So I want to put on muscle because, and whatever you say after that, that's your why statement. Now for me, it was around, I think people taking me more seriously. having more gravitas, feeling more powerful. But those were all crutches for those problems I was experiencing. Putting on more muscle doesn't mean that those things happen. So I got to the point where I was like, look, I like working out at the gym, but I'm trying to fight genetics here. So what is it that I'm good at doing? And it was running. And I'd left running earlier on. Always been a relatively good runner. One of those people that could sit on a couch for months and months and months and then get up and run a 5K and run that 5K relatively quickly, sort of thing. And after a couple of weeks of training, be much faster. So I went back to running. There wasn't the reason why I went back to running wholly. It wasn't just the frustration of what's not happening in the gym. There was a combination of other things, but I went running. But what I found is by running, those things I was looking for, by going to the gym and trying to put on muscle and trying to put on bulk and to be literally big, just to be big, I was getting those same feelings that I was looking for through the gym. I was getting those through running because I was advancing quickly. I was beating my PBs. I was representing myself well in races, placing in races, and winning the odd one or two. And I've got better since. So what I found was, or what I know is, running has given me what I was looking for in terms of self-confidence, the feeling of power, the feeling of control, and not power and control over others, over myself. A level of attainment or achievement that I've got, control over, that I can sculpt and build. So that's my story. It took me a long time to get there in terms of the time I spent in the gym, and looking back on it, it was pretty silly. And because I wasn't listening to my body, and my body was telling me, and it was showing me that, dude, you are not this. You can love this, and that's okay, but you're this. And some horses plow fields, and some horses race. And, not just the horse analogy. If we look at all animals, each species has got its own thing that it does really well. And if you're a fish, then you're going to struggle to try and do what a monkey does. So it was a case of, just understand that I'm a fish. And by being a fish and being comfortable with being a fish, I can rather than be a monkey or a dog or a cat or whatever, that I get my fulfillment, exactly what I'm looking for through being who I am. And that comes down to us really being honest with ourselves. And that takes a lot of courage. Because in being honest with yourself, in finding the solution that sometimes we're looking for, that takes a lot of courage, because it means once you know what it is you need to do, then there's only one other thing left to do, and that is to frickin' do it. Once you discover what it is that you need to do, there's nothing else to do except for to do it. And sometimes that freaks us out, knowing that the next stage is to do it. So what we do is we spend time trying to, find different solutions or come up with different reasons. But once you get down to your why, then the only thing left is to do it. And the reason why I mention this now is someone commented on a previous video that I did around standards, and it was a fantastic comment. And it was talking about how they keep themselves to account. And what I shared in my reply is, make sure you know what your why is. Because the way we keep ourselves to account, whether we publicly say what our goal is, or we're disciplined enough to do it each day, or whatever that is, all of that stuff hinges on the why being relevant to yourself. Because if that why isn't relevant, kind of like a New Year's Eve resolution. If you're, during your New Year's Eve resolution, if you're saying what you think you should do as opposed to what you want to do, then I can tell you right now, if we have a pool of people that have a resolution of what they think they should do and a pool of people that have a resolution on what they really want to do, I can tell you which pool's going to outlast the other. And that's the why. Those that know what their why is, as opposed to those that think they should be doing this thing because it's the right thing to do, the why will outlast it. So it's coming back to understanding your why. So when it comes to holding yourself account, you need to know what the why for what you're holding yourself to account to. What is that thing you're holding yourself to account? Because if it's just something you think you should do, it's a task. It will fall by the wayside. It needs to be attached to the why. So before you even think about how you're going to hold yourself to account, double check that that thing that you want to hold yourself to account to, that there's a why that underpins it. And that will make holding yourself to account easier. Because if you have a burning desire, so for example, if you want to run 800 meters faster, and it's something you really want to do, because for you, that's your Everest. You run 800 meters faster than you've ever run before, and you know you feel like it's a new you. That's your why. So you might find your why is so powerful, you don't need to hold yourself account in terms of making sure that you publicly share that with others. Your why might be such a burning desire. It helps facilitate good discipline. You make great decisions around your nutrition because your why is so strong. You know you need to feed that why. So when it comes to nutrition, you make good decisions because that feeds the why. When it comes to training, you make good decisions because that feeds the why. But it all sits around that why. You've got to know why you're doing something. And I didn't have that when I was going to the gym. My why was to get bigger. But it's only when I started to think, why do I want to get bigger? Because it wasn't about bigger muscles. It was about all those other elements I was thinking about. Then the question becomes, is the gym the best solution for that? Or is it something else? And just by luck or good fortune or whatever, I found it was something else. It was my running that gave me what I needed. And genetically, I'm much better built to get success in running than I was to get success in the gym. And it was that feeling of success and self-confidence and power and having control over my environment and my training regime and the results that came from it that gave me what I was looking for. So you boil it down to your why. When you think of your what being, I want to put on bigger muscles, add that word because, and what comes after that is your why. Do a sniff test on it. Are you being honest with yourself about that why? Or are you coming up with the why you think you should have? Not the why that really resonates with you. And it's about really being who you are. And how often do we hear that? Where people say, whatever you do, just be who you are. And I think when we talk about, journeys for meaning and stuff like that and finding ourselves and whatever, I know I just rolled my eyes there a little bit. But those are all sort of colloquialisms in a way for us just appreciating who we are. And the thing is, you already know the answer. I already knew the answer. It didn't take me 20 years to discover the answer. It took me 20 years to have the courage to ask myself, why am I doing this? And it took 20 years of frustration in the gym before I had the guts to ask myself that question. Why am I doing this? And only when I asked why, and I peeled back all the layers of crap reasons, that I got down to the core. It was just really, to sum it up succinctly, it was about feeling really good about myself and who I am. And then I found there was a better way. So that's my story. I hope that was helpful. You know that I don't need you to follow any of the advice in this. I'm not telling you to follow any of the advice, but I share these stories and these concepts about continuous improvement in a personal context because I need to follow this advice. I've learned from it, I've learned what works, and I need to repeat it over and over. Finding the solution is only one thing. It's the adherence to the solution that gives you the continual result you're after. But only you know whether this advice will work for you. And if it does, absorb it, and if it doesn't, dismiss it. And how do you know whether you should absorb it or dismiss it? Only you know the answer. And you've got to be honest with yourself. That's step one. You've got to be honest with yourself. If you've made it to the end, thank you. You know what to do. Take care of yourself, and I'll catch you in the next one.